I received a viewer comment that I tried to do a video on just recently, and I wanted to follow up on that video because I reread this viewer's email. And the point of the email was, I am always telling people about hope and standing, and that if your spouse leaves you, there are strategies for winning them back. But he reminded me to remind you that you can do everything right. You can be perfect in your behaviors, perfect in your thoughts, perfect in your stand, and your spouse will never come back. Uh, it's tough to hear, but that's basically Jesus, right? Jesus loves us perfectly. Jesus stands for our reconciliation perfectly. Jesus makes no mistake, and some of his children choose hell instead of heaven. So it's really ultimately at the core. But what I do talk about is teaching people that, correct, but if you are aiming for reconciliation, you still need to do what Jesus is doing. You need to love without conditions. You need to be patient. You need to be kind. You need to be virtuous. But this particular person deals with, by the nature of his position, and I don't want to say what it is, he deals with people who are breaking their marriage vows frequently. And he wanted me, and I agree with him completely, to talk about sometimes we need to tell you the tough truth. But that the goal of tough truth is to get you into heaven. And one of the examples he used is he said that he recently had a close friend come out and tell his wife that he's gay and he wants a divorce. Now, I hear that one regularly. And you may be watching thinking, oh, well, Christine, in that case, I mean, come on, you don't want to torture the person. Well, that really could be unpacked in an hour-long video, but I'm going to try to keep it concise in these 10-minute videos. So let's start first of all with the concept of marriage. Marriage just needs two things to be marriage. Your consent on the day of your marriage, you willingly consented, and your ability, meaning there were no impediments, nothing to stop you, meaning you weren't already married to someone else, because then that wouldn't make your marriage valid. You weren't too close in relationship, so it's your sister. So even if you consented, you can't do that. So those are it. And so I want to remind people that if you did those two things, you're married. And the second thing, which is right on top of that, for a valid marriage, has nothing, zero, absolutely nothing to do with the quality of the marriage. You can be the happiest two people in the world and you're validly married, and you can be the two most miserable people in the world and you're still married. The quality of your marriage does not unmarry you. The only thing that marries you is the day you got married. Were you free to marry? Did you consciously and willingly say yes? In that case, was Hitler's marriage valid? Absolutely. He willingly, and so did she, chose to get married. They had no impediments. To the best of my knowledge, neither of them was married before. Hitler's an evil man. Does that mean his marriage wasn't valid? So when it comes to the homosexual issue, so many people have a little bit more softness in their hearts. And like, well, Christine, I mean, they need to find true love. That needs to be unpacked as well. So let's start with the fact that, okay, you're in a valid marriage because you both consented. First of all, some people try to say, many people, the culture, the agenda, try to say that people are born gay or born same-sex attracted, which the research has just not found that. Two very powerful researches, the Human Genome Project has found definitively that there is no gay gene. There's no physical thing in your body that makes you gay. Second thing is, research has shown again and again and again that same-sex attraction is caused quite often by wounds. 87% of lesbians, for instance, have a daddy wound. I know my mom was one of them. My mother was sexually abused by her father for a decade, and she eventually left my dad for a woman. She has since healed that wound and recognized it and is no longer considers herself a lesbian. My mother lives a celibate lifestyle, and she sees the truth of the church, and she sees the truth of what happened to her in her childhood. But okay, that's a different, kind of putting that out there. So same-sex attraction is not something you're born with. It's something that happens based on nurture, the way people treat you, the things. If a male has a lot more tenderness or qualities, likes to play with dolls, people will often say to him, oh, then you probably are gay. You should probably date men. And I've heard that from many men. Trust me, I hear a lot. This idea that I didn't fit the male archetype, and so many people told me I was probably gay, so I figured I'd listen to them, right? So the confusion for a child who's 9, 10, 11, 12, starting to hear this. But let's put that aside. And let's assume that you have feelings, same-sex attraction feelings, and they're going to be there for the rest of your life. The second part of that is that most people think about this concept of, well, you deserve to feel love. You deserve to not be trapped. Well, again, as a Christian, specifically a very Catholic Christian, you don't deserve anything. None of you, me, if we deserve anything, we deserve to burn in hell. We are all sinners saved by grace. So no, you don't deserve happiness, and neither does that homosexual person deserve happiness. We are all sinners. But we have this idea that marriage is romantic love. Guess what? That's unique to half the world. The whole world doesn't think that. That's why arranged marriages still exist, and happily married arranged marriages. There's this Asian phrase that says American marriages start out hot and end up cool, but Asian marriages start out cool and end up hot. The premise behind that is that we learn to love the verb. I can love you whether I had romantic feelings for you or not. It's a choice. You can love me whether my marriage was arranged or not. It's a choice. And people going into arranged marriages understand that choice. And their parents aren't just throwing them together, by the way, with someone that they're completely paradoxical to. So let's say you are married validly and you do have same-sex attracted feelings. That's a heavy cross, but it doesn't give you an out from your marriage. You're still validly married. If you did the first two things, I willingly said yes, no gun was in my head, and I was free to marry, meaning I hadn't been married before, we weren't too close in relationships, things like that. If you met those criteria, whether you find yourself having attraction to people of the same sex and not necessarily your spouse, your responsibility is to God first. You cannot act on your feelings and walk into sin because it feels right, because it's what you're attracted to, because culture tells you it's okay. There's so many things here I could unpack. Again, we cannot make decisions based on feelings. Do you know that there are creepy, awful, horrible people out there right now, pedophiles, who are starting to call themselves MAPs, M-A-P, minor attracted persons? They're trying to get us to say, don't call me a pedophile. That's just got such an ugly little tone to it. Just say minor attracted people. No, it's an awful, hideous thing. So when we're looking at same-sex attracted people, though the world has accepted that type of sin, sleeping with someone of the same sex is an abomination in the eyes of God. Again, I'm not judging you because I was sinful. I had an affair. I would have burnt in hell if I hadn't repented from that. But because I had feelings for the other man, didn't make it okay for me to leave my husband. It didn't unmarry me. Your feelings for someone of the same sex doesn't unmarry you. So what do we do? We carry our crosses. So there's two things. We carry our crosses, but not such that you're like, ah, I'm going to carry this cross. It's forever and I hate it and it's miserable and I can't do anything about it. And I need to carry it just because. You carry this cross while simultaneously also working towards fixing the cross. So when you're in a troubled marriage, homosexual, heterosexual, doesn't matter, infidelity, whatever, but you're in a troubled marriage, you aren't supposed to say, oh, so I'm abused. I need to carry this cross of abuse. No, you need to try to fix it while simultaneously recognizing that you can't get out of it just because you're unhappy. And just because I accidentally touched on the abuse thing, I'm going to say one more time for the millionth time, this does not mean that if you're in an abusive relationship that you need to stay in that home. If you have fear of your life or fear of injury or fear your children to be injured, get the heck out of that house. Get safe. But hint, that doesn't unmarry you. You're still married to that abuser. You just are in a separate house. Too many people try to twist that one. I'm not God. I don't make the laws. God made holy laws, not because he wanted to put his thumb on us, but because he loves us and he knows what's good for us. Just like the parent that doesn't allow her child to touch that sparkler on the 4th of July. It looks so pretty and it's sparkly. I'm going to touch it. That parent says no, though the child is attracted to the sparkles because a parent knows a child's hand will be burned. God knows you're attracted to someone of the same sex, but he doesn't want you to touch it because it only looks attractive. It will hurt you. And it won't just hurt you in eternity when you burn in hell if you are unrepentant of it because you've acted on it. It will hurt you in this life physically. The diseases that come, the physical, the self-esteem issues, the respect, societal problems that are attached to it, the infertility, because you cannot have a child with a person of the same sex. But then you go and purchase one through IVF or surrogacy. And then you have the problems associated with knowing that child's not really mine. It's my partner's child and some man, some sperm donor or whatever. There are always problems attached with living a disordered life. So whether you're heterosexual, same-sex attracted, unfaithful, whatever your issues are, your goal is to get yourself and your spouse to heaven. And while you're trying to fix those things, you must carry that cross. A 10-minute video is way too short to delve deeply into this topic, so I'm available to talk to you. I do not judge you. I am a sinner saved by grace. And again, I've got a mom who had to carry this cross for many, many years. I get it. I will tenderly walk with you, help you to understand a little bit more about yourself and why you're feeling the way you feel and not disregard your feelings as you're a bad person. You're a broken person, just like the rest of us. I want to help you heal those breaks so that you, without judgment of anyone in society, even though you'll always have that, everyone will always judge us, that you can go to bed at night knowing these are choices I make for the good of me, for the good of my soul, for the good of the kingdom, for the good of eternity. I'm here for you. We're a community. I've had people be there for me. Let's get through this life together, and I'd love, love, love to spend eternity with you. But it all begins by speaking truth in love. Don't speak truth harshly. And do not speak lovingly, but not the truth, or really just not even love. It's appeasement. Let's get through that. Let's spend eternity together. This heavy cross is only temporary, short 80 years or so. Then you get put it down and never, 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 never get to pick it up again. I'm Dr. Christine Bacon. Thanks for watching another Breakfast with Bacon. And as always, please remember, because there's so much yucky in life, there's so much good as well. So remember to live your life sunny side up.